Hello everyone, welcome to DelphiCon 2021, and now we are talking about building a web crawler with Delphi and Python. In your agenda, what we will see is how to get some information from a website and get that information and a dataset, native dataset on Delphi, okay? And this website can be any website that you want that don't block this kind of action, and as well as you can configure and manage the way that you want to get this information. And with that information on Delphi, you can do everything that you always can do with information Delphi: store, manipulate, export. Okay, and we'll see a hands-on application with this functionality. And a little more dense in our agenda, we will see a little about Python, why use Python, Delphi versus Python, the components, Python for Delphi, and why to use Python in Delphi, the concept of the web crawler, and a hands-on application. About the speakers, this session was entirely written by Maico, senior Delphi developer at Aquasoft, as well as a Delphi Master Certified. And I'm John Mai, Embarcadero Delphi and C++ Builder MVP, Development Manager at Aquasoft. I'm doing the talk today because Michael couldn't. A little about Python. So this is Python creator, Guido van Hausen. In 1989, he started the implementation of the Python. 1991 was released the early version. 1995 in USA was created the program Computer for Everybody, financed by DARPA, where Python became important. And 1996 the first book of Python was released by Already, Programming Python. 2001 Python Software Foundation was created. 2009 Python became default on Linux and OS X. Okay, so almost every distro of Linux nowadays, if you type Python, they are natively installed in operational system. Some curiosities about Python. The name originally was thinking about Monty Python, a British comedy program. And after the first book by Already, they choose the snake as a symbol, and the community of the Python wasn't mad about that. They selected the snake as a symbol for the language as well. Okay, so after this book, the language took the snake as a symbol, and Raspberry Pi, as well as the pi in the name, remember the number P, as well as the pi, the cake. Pi is also a reference to Python because Raspberry supports Python. And Python has 20 algorithms. Okay, a little Easter egg they put. Way of they thinking on implementing the language, and if you go to any console of Python and type import this, you can see these 19 lines right down. And I took just 3 here to show you how it feel like. Here's a simple. Simple is better than complex. Now is better than never. Enough never is often better than right now. And so if you want to know all the other algorithms, you can go to any Python and type import this. So Delphi times Python. Here are some similarities and difference between the language. The release date is very close. They are object-oriented and multi-platform. The verbosity is a little difference between them two. Memory management, Delphi is manual and Python is reference counting, so automatic. And Delphi is compiled. Python is bytecode, okay, and Python has an interpreter as well. And the main difference are here: performance. Delphi is very more performatic than Python. Delphi is multi-threading, and Delphi is RAD, and Python are none of those. But if Python is none of those, why do you use Python? Well, many of these features I told you before, okay, it's free, open source, multi-platform, high language level, it's easy to learn, it's OO, and have a growing market. Okay, Python is growing a lot around the world. And the main reason that I will choose Python for my projects were the frameworks. Okay, Python is a language that is very well used for research and development projects. So around the world, there are many universities, many labs that use Python frameworks and algorithms to do search and development. And as well as we as developers nowadays usually get in touch with these new technologies, is a very simple way to interact with this new technology using Python. Because if we need to use this technology in C++ or even Delphi, usually we have to write down a complete API, a complete interaction way to deal with these frameworks, or even rewriting, excuse me, rewrite the framework as well. Okay, so if we integrate with Python, we don't need to uh, rewrite anything. And how to use Python in Delphi? Well, we have a component, okay, Python for Delphi is a free component, is incentivized by Embarcadero, and I don't going very deep on way the Python for Delphi works, how to install it, okay, but I don't go very deep on this subject because Embarcadero already have many good videos from the McKee, from the Python for Delphi creator, and they are all listed. These webinars are all listed on the end of this session. Okay, I put all the links there, and you can go there and watch it. Okay, we on this session will go only through this web crawler and how to use it. Okay, but all the components will be listed here, and all the steps that you need to install the components will be at the end of the session. Okay, so for this interaction we use Python for Delphi, a component that provides this link between these two languages. I already will show you how. And we all know Delphi is very good language for data interaction, is very good with interfaces, as well as Python as a framework and technology provider. And we can link these two languages and get a lot of the advantages. So the web crawler, what is the concept? Crawling is search data from the internet. Okay, we must get some information, some data that we want it. And scraping is extract, indexate the data. So we can use, we can export, we can do whatever we want with that data. And this is what we're gonna do. And what we can do with a crawler? Well, we can get data from the web, compare different providers. Imagine that you have some component provider and you want to see if the price is right, uh, uh, the other players are selling at the same price. You can do this with a crawler, okay? And you can validate your own data published on the web, and you can integrate with external business that don't have APIs. We know that nowadays many software companies are migrating to SaaS, so we have many companies that now sell their own product, own software as a cloud model. We can access some of API and get the data and functionalities. But we also know there are many players that don't allow API integration. So for that players, we maybe have to use web crawler to not have to do manually that task that get some data or indexate or search for something that you may need in your own application. Okay, so to the codes, I will split this code part in two main parts. Okay, we will see how Delphi works, everything we need to get this application run. We will see some of the Python as well to see how the structure work and how we get the things done. After that, we'll see this application running, the pros and cons of using this application model, and we are done. Okay, so in Delphi, what we need? We need this Python for Delphi components here. Okay, I will not go every detail of them, but we need these components already installed. We need this SceneEdit here. Okay, is another third-party component. Is easy to install. Is on GitHub. Is free, and we only use it here because of this uh, language format here, so we can see the code a little better. Okay, but if you use a memo, it will be work just fine. Okay, in your final application, you maybe don't even need a graphical interface. You just need the script to run, right? And what we have to do here in our Python model, okay, the component Python model, we can go to events, and here we must set the events that the Python will call. Okay, here we put the name of the method that the Python will call, and when the Python call this method, we have this event here running on Delphi, right? So I don't want to go very deep on details how things work, because again, there are other webinars focusing on that. Okay, but we put these two events here to control, to send the data that we wanted that the crawler search on the web. Okay, and this other method here to get the data that the crawler find on the web in our data set, not our data set. Okay, and here on the source, what we need? Well, we need a model to specify the objects that we'll send and get through the Python. Okay, you have this just to create simple types, and after that we must declare variables to store that objects that Python will see and Delphi will read or write as well. And we have also some Python reference for that objects. And on the run button, we just call the engine and tell them to run the source code of Python. And also we show the form that displayed the data. And on that methods that I told you to get communication between Python, one method will get the object of through the Python, so we'll get the information that Python captured, and other one will just send to the Python the information that you wanted that the Python search for you. Okay, so as you can see, it's just a 100-line project. It's very simple to write. Of course, we have the Python part as well, but it's not a complex project. Okay, you can do great things with just a little of typing with Python and Delphi unit together. And for the start of the program, we just instantiate another form. We have to instantiate these variables of the product and the search info. What I mean, the objects that we will interact with Python must be instantiated, and as well as they must be wrapped by Delphi Python wrapper, and this reference here must be set as a public var. And notice this name, these four names here: Delphi add data, Delphi add search, as well as Delphi product inf and Delphi search inf. These are the names that will access information or methods in Python through Delphi, okay? So these names are the names that we will call through the Python to get access to this information in Delphi, right? And the other methods here is just to clear the memo. So the Delphi part is very simple, and this form here just add the data. I use here a client data set because of Delphi community. You can use it, this model with that, but you can use a FACDAC or any other dataset provider as well. And I just put the data that we received from Python in this mem dataset, okay? And as well as put the link. Later I'll talk about this. And here, as I told you before, is the model. So this is our Delphi part. Now we go to the Python part. I open little here in idle, okay? You can use any IDE that you wanted for Python, but idle is default. And you must be careful to install some packages on Python, okay? For this crawler, we just use one external framework requests. Here is the line to install it, but maybe for your other applications you need more, and I will encourage you to go and search more Python frameworks. There are a lot of frameworks that do great things in a very simple way, okay? So search a little if you need something more specific, and maybe already has a Python framework for that. And here we have commented in Python the lines that don't work only here on Python, okay? These lines here commented are that names that I told you to pay attention, are the names that we will get to access data from Delphi, okay? So what we have on the source code of Python here, we have to just configure our header, and here I use a fixed URL to get some product list, okay? Of course, we are using this crawler in a production environment, maybe you need more loops, you need more information providers, okay? And my own company, we use some kind of crawlers, and we use usually 5, 6 information providers to get the information that we needed. And all you need to do is just put more force for levels here, okay? And after we do the request, we will get this information from this page. We'll do a HTML parser over it, and after that we will do a loop, okay? Div by div of this structure, and div by div we will get all the class information that we needed, okay, to get the name of the product, the value of the product, and the link of the product, yeah, and as well if the was free shipping. We write this information on console to validate with our own application, and after that we will send with this variable here that we set it over there on Delphi. We'll set all the values on this variable here, and after that we will send over that event that we set on Delphi this data to Delphi, and after that we start another loop and so go on, okay, until the end of the page. And as you see, it's a very simple program, okay? It's just 43 line of code. So of course, John, maybe we don't need Python to do this. We can do this with Indy or any other Delphi or web browser. And I tell you, okay, you can do in Delphi. I have already have been done this kind of project, but I can tell you there is no way that you can get some classified data, some indexed data from our website and Delphi with just 43 lines of code. I do projects similar with this on only Delphi, and it took at least 500 line of code. Okay, so it's very more simple to use Python to do this. Okay, and even so that we are just using one framework, we can use even more frameworks. Okay, to do the crawler, to do indexate, to do many other functionalities that Python already have implemented in free frameworks. Okay, so with this source code, what we need to do, we put this code here on our scene and as you can see here, I'll show you the final version of it. I remove the comments from the Python, so here the Delphi part is not commented, and I put some more lines of code to show what is the search text that we use, and everything else is just the same. And after that we send the product. Here is not commented as well, and it's done. So this is the final Python source code version, and now what we need to do is run the application. So let's run it and see if it works. So get the data, and here we have it. So but Joe, how is the information over the website? How we see if right? Okay, let's just test it. Here I have the website. Okay, I will just duplicate here to show you another kind of information. I can search for the product that we use in our test, and you can see here the first item cost 15 bucks. And if we see in your application, where is my form? Oh, my form didn't show here. Let's show it again. I can compare the values and see that are the same values that we have here on our list. Okay, so the total value here is the same that we have for the 6, is the same that we have in our application. I can change the product here like N95, and get other product information. Okay, and as well as I can get like Delphi book. Of course, I already tested this search before, and here I have some start of the cons of using this model. So here are Delphi book list. As you can see, there are many more products. Of course, the search engine didn't find only Delphi books. Okay, they find some air compressor, other kind of products that are not even close of Delphi books. But we have some problems using this kind of approach. Okay, what is the problems? Well, we will be dependent on the website structure. Okay, as you can see here on Python code, I must know is exactly the same class of the divs that have the value that I wanted. Okay, if I don't know of if that div change, we will not able to get the information. Okay, you will have this problem for each information provider that you want to search. Okay, I will not only tell the good things of doing the crawling. Okay, you have to consider this. Um, but as I told you before, I use this in many projects. Okay, and many providers changing just a few times their interface, so you usually don't have large problems with this, but you have to consider. Other point you have to consider that many providers block your automate search information, so you have to easily test your provider before to get sure that they don't put some validation, some captcha, some not a robot click that button. So you will be safe. You can use the site to do to get the information. And other thing that I have to tell you is this: if I search here for monitor, okay, as you can see, if I search for monitor, all these site structure change. Okay, and as you can imagine, the divs, all the components are not more the same. And if I run my application with that structure, searching now monitors, I will get errors. Why? Because my Python code are not prepared for that. Okay, so what we'll have to do? We'll have to look to the source code of the page, get the div's right div's name, and go through Python doing almost something similar that you see here. That this method here will consider the situation of not having cents price tag values. Okay, so if has a fraction or if has a cents price tag, this information maybe will not be present on the div information. So I have to take care of that in other part of Python code. And here, when I get the product value, I have to separate these two parts. Okay, so maybe for if you want to be more flexible, you have to do this kind of approach for each kind of div that you know that your information provider use. You have to use different kind of methods. Okay, uh, until now I don't use any kind of system that automates doing that. Okay, uh, even because if you don't know exactly what you want to use, maybe you will have gross information. Okay, you can get the wrong information, like getting the name instead of the value, and that kind of error can breaks your system apart. As you can see here, if just the value was not in the right float format, all my save information routine will breaks and I don't get the right information from the website. Okay, so you must be carefully on choose that and carefully on deal with the format that the data became from the site. Okay, another option is on the first step just record the information as a string, and after that you process on your specific times. Okay, specific types, and maybe is one approach that will help you more, maybe not. Okay, it's depend on the project. Okay, so this is the crawler, uh, the complete application. Okay, here we have just the output. You can run this search as well in Python and get only the information. Okay, and um, it's very simple, and we can use other Python frameworks to do more functionalities. Okay, so all the source is this. Now we go back to our presentation, and go to final thoughts. Okay, what is pros and cons of this model of crowd? It's more simple than other ways, as I told you before. In the web browser, we can do that natively on Delphi, but they are more complex models, and with more lines of code, we have more impact when some information provider change something. Okay, so with just 43 lines of code, as you see in my Python code, it's if something change on my application provider, it's very simple to change that. Okay, but if I using Delphi, only Delphi, and I write 500 line of code, of course it will be a large effort to uh, correct some bugs or other change that may happen. Allo automation in its benefits, I mean, if you already have some people doing this job, going through websites, getting information, you can automate it. So automation has its benefits. Automation usually don't make mistakes. Automation is more fast. People don't get boring doing the same manual routine. So is a a better way to approach, okay, the job that has been done. And Python is much more than a crawler, okay, people. Folks, here I just showing way to doing crawler, but we have many Python frameworks and API already been using Python for voice processing, for image processing, for machine learning predictions. So there's a lot of frameworks that you can use. Of course, Delphi has many frameworks, but in amount of how many frameworks are there, Python is much more larger than Delphi. Okay, and the cost of this model maybe be the website can change, so you maybe have to readapt your source code to get the things working back on normal. It's hard to define where are reliable data. I mean, if something are break on your getting routine, you maybe have considering or taking some decisions on based on wrong information. So you must be careful about that. Okay, and parser errors can escalate small problems. I mean, just a sense error can break all your routine from getting information or change the order of fields, and you can get the wrong types in your data set can generate very large problems for just little mistakes on your crawler routine. Okay, so we really thank you for your attention, and hope that you enjoy your session. Here are the previous session that I told you about introduction for Python Delphi webinar. Here are the webinar part 1 and 2 from the McKeith, and also the link to the components of Python for Delphi, as well as a tutorial to install it. So all the information that you may have to use Python Delphi is here you can access through these links, okay? And this presentation will be available to you after this session. And maybe we're here to answer some Q&A. So we really thank you. Here are Maico contacts, and here are the sample. The source of the sample that we use in this presentation are free on GitHub. You can get it, compile it, and if you have something to ask Michael, please feel free to contact. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for that session. I was just mentioning before that we started here that this is topic I'm pretty excited about as well. So it's great to see it covered. Can we install packages like pandas and use it?
Yes, we can. Many packages work very well integrated with Delphi and Python. I don't have the complete list here that the package that we already use it, and I know that some packages don't work very well. Okay, because Delphi runs the Python script, right? So some packages maybe don't work very well. I don't have the right names here, but I know that many other packages work very well. Okay.
Yeah. I know that a lot of them do work great. So yeah. Let's see here. After building the Delphi project, we still need the Python exe installed on our machine, or it will be wrapped inside the objects folder.
We still need to install them because Delphi only calls Python to run, right? It don't encapsulate the Python execution. So we still needed Python installed in your machine to run.
So
I don't have.
there's
Okay.
actually if you go back and watch the I'll elaborate on this, the Python for Delphi webinar, there's an embeddable version of Python that you can include with it, so you don't have to actually have Python installed. You can just include the Python libraries.
Right. I don't try that with Python packages dim. I don't know if it works with because we for this project we use pip to install requests.
Yeah.
So maybe we must test it before, but I don't know now the right answer.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. So there are options. Certainly something to explore. Yeah. So you could use Python IDE like PyScripter or idle, or you can also use synedit to add syntax highlighting to your Python if you want to. So there's a question here if you have other projects that you use for Python for Delphi. Anything else you've done with Python for Delphi?
Yes, we did some machine learning predictions. We did some integration with APIs that get some the right name right the Kiwi API Kiwis. So Delphi didn't have the native components for that, so we use them in Python. We use that for API that gets streaming from some data in internet that we have the Python right at the clients for get that streaming, and we deal with that data on Delphi. So we use Python for Delphi to get that data with those Python clients.
So the question, let's see. Requirements related to local Python. So yeah, you as far as it depends on what you're using. If you're installing Python libraries, you have to install. They have to be distributed with it as well. Some Python libraries are written in C++, some are written in Delphi, some are written in Python. So it depends on the Python library as well, what they're written in. Can you comment about the compatibility of Delphi dynamic arrays and Python dictionaries or lists, or what can you use between those?
We didn't have to deal with that until now. We used that structure that I showed in presentation, dealing with each object individually.
Okay. If you so let me look and see if so we will have your slides and stuff on the DelphiCon website if they're not on there already. Let me go check and see. Some people are saying they weren't looking for your links. If so, we will get those up there with your slides so people can find those. But let me go look and see if they're already on there.
I already sent you them, but if it's not there, I send you again, okay?
There probably are there. Someone was just asking, so let me just double check. I don't see them on there yet. So if you sent them, I'm sure we'll get them added. So they will be on the DelphiCon site. If you go to the DelphiCon site, you'll be able to find the slides. It may take a couple of days for us to get everything on there because there's a lot of stuff going on, but they will be there. Can you run under Linux, Android, or iOS? I can comment on this. The Python for Delphi runs on Mac OS, Linux, Windows, and there is Android. There is Android support as well. It takes a lot of effort for the deployment to Android. There is not support on iOS. It works with FireMonkey as well. Yes.
I didn't use without Windows. I only use with Windows them by now.
What are the advantages and disadvantages of using Beautiful Soap versus Selenium to manipulate websites from Python? Can you comment on Beautiful Soap versus Selenium?
Beautiful Soap on Selenium. I don't remember to use in Selenium by now, but Beautiful Soap was very simple to use them. That I point on that.
Do you know, how does the Python library deal with SSL and OpenSSL? Does it have its own SSL libraries, or what is it using for the SSL?
For this project, we use the OpenSSL, and Python deal with that libraries automatically. We didn't have to rewrite anything.
Okay, yeah, that's what I would expect. Is it possible to use Selenium with Python for Delphi? I'm pretty sure I've seen examples of that.
I didn't have to use Selenium by now in Delphi, but maybe it's a trial that we can do.
Okay. And I think I've seen PyTorch as well. There's a if you go to Embarcadero's YouTube channel or the Python for Delphi GitHub repository, there are links to other examples and some tutorials and videos and such there, so you can find out a lot more of what you can do with Python for Delphi. I'm a big fan of it. It's very powerful. It lets you, I mean, this was a great session to show some of what you can do with it. So definitely check it out. There's way more than we can expect Dion to know about how to use it offhand. So
very right. There is a lot of things that you can do in Python, and just get the information right from Delphi is very easy to use.
Yeah.
And write a visual interface in Python, oh my God, don't go there.
Yes. So there's a comment here about someone that made their own crawling library for Delphi. Sure, you can do that, or you can use it's a matter. Do you want to use, if you want to use an existing library, or if you want to write it yourself? People oftentimes ask me, can I do X with Delphi, or do I need this third-party library? And it's like, yes, you can do it with Delphi, but the question is, do you want to write the code yourself or not?
Yes.
And ideally, you should make your code so it's reusable and such, and make it into a library. But yeah. All right. Well, thank you. I am very excited to play with this. I've been wanting to some web scraping stuff I wanted to do. So this will be or web crawling stuff. I will definitely be checking this out. I think it's great to see. I think I'm a big fan of Python for Delphi. I think it does have a lot of benefits for Delphi developers.
Thank you, Dion.
Oh, here's a good, interesting question. Does the Beautiful Soap, does it handle sites that require logins as registered users and stuff like that?
We didn't have to use that until now, Dim.
Okay. Yeah, so Rolf, go check it out and see um, if it does. Someone's asking why not Pascal script instead of Python in that case. So Python, the reason you use Python for Delphi is to access all the Python libraries.
Yes.
If you want
And
scripting, yeah, you can use Pascal script or JavaScript or whatever, but or Python script, Python for that case. But sure.
And for Python is very, very simple to write in, because if you use Pascal script, it's very more dense, very more lines of code that you have to write to do the same job that we did here with just a few lines of code in Python.
Yeah, it's very concise. It's great. Okay, and not saying we don't like Delphi, it's just saying you can like both.
Yeah, both has disadvantages, and you can use both.
Yes. Yeah. Does it handle cookies, session cookies?
Session cookies. The client that we use store the cookies. Okay. I didn't understand very well the question. If you try to use the cookies.
So it does store your cookies for you so you can maintain your session and such.
I think yes. Because in that case, I was logging in the search
Okay.
website.
All right, fantastic. Great, thank you so much, and thanks everybody for being on here. We're getting close to the end of DelphiCon day 3, so we'll see everybody here as we finish wrapping up shortly. Take care. Thanks a lot, Dion.
Thank you, Jim.
Bye.
We thank you for the opportunity. Bye bye.